Sometimes we're more interested in figuring out the current value of a series of payments rather than their future value. Let's say you want to figure out how much you need to invest in a fund that earns 10% interest annually to withdraw 100 each year for the next 3 years. In the example, you're looking for the present value of these future cash flows. The sum of the present values of each of these 3 payments of $100 is the present value of the annuity. Here's the example. Well, I've gone over this repeatedly. Factoring out the regular payment of $100, we have 100 times, and all we're doing is 1 divided by 1.1 for year 1, year 2, and year 3. This amounts to 248.69, 10%. Working backwards, how does this work? I'm going to show you. I'm going to map this out. Year 1, year 2, 3. We take 248.69. That's what you deposited. It earns 1.1% annually. At the end of the year, it's 273.59. You take out $100. 100 minus this is 173.56. It earns 10% interest. $190 at the end of the year. You take 100 out, $90. That 90 earns 10% interest. $100 minus 100 equals 0. Isn't that just friggin' beautiful? Isn't this math pretty cool? Yeah. You buy a certificate of deposit that promises to pay $100 each year for the next 3 years. What is the 3-year CD worth today? All we're doing is the same thing here, but the rate's lower. We didn't use a rate, did we? So we're going to assume 6%. What's it worth today? $267.30. How do we do it? All we're doing is the same thing. We could do it this way, but there's the annuity formula. So there it is. Pretty simple, yeah? And I've gone over this over and over and again. If you need to work through it, then do so. Here's the formula. So interest rates increase the day after you bought this CD to 7%, and you need to sell it. Ouch. You're going to get a bit of a haircut because that 267.30 now is 267.243. Why? Why would someone invest in a 6% CD when they can get it for 7%? All of a sudden now your 267.30 is going to be haircutted by whatever the new yield to maturity is. I showed in another example how to compute that yield to maturity. So figure it out. The price difference, this 267 will drop to the $4.87 price difference between the 6% and the 7%. You just lost $4.87. That means 1.86% loss because interest rates went up 7% on this short-term maturity. So that's it in a nutshell. This is factor. This is a 3-year annuity with monthly compounding. That's the factor. Here's another factor. Here's another factor. And here's another factor. What am I talking about? For you who are probably in there anywhere from 25 years and younger, you probably have never been exposed or no one has ever shown you in your finance compounding tables. Well, these are compounding numbers based on this annuity formula for 3 years, based at whatever rate that this is. I probably should have noted that. I forgot what it is. But the idea is there's a factor here, and all you're doing if your computer or if your smartphone breaks and you have no access to compute this stuff, there's a table. There's a table. All you got to do is get rid of this 100. It'll produce a factor. Here's your factor, 2.67. All you're going to do is multiply that times 100. Every finance situation will have a table or a factor associated with it. The factor here will be 2.62. Anyway, that's what this is. I don't know why the formulas aren't showing here. But something really screwy showed up, and that's typical Excel. With that being said, adios to this because it is useless. Useless. The point is, what's my point? Using this present value annuity formula. That's the point of this whole thing. Brad Williams, Frugal Finance.